Good morning, everyone. Fiona here from Core Confidence. And this month, we're talking about executive presence and core confidence. And how are they similar? How are they different? And what's the meaning behind that language? And last week, Kate and I shared a little bit around our own sort of experience of this work that we're doing and this term executive presence seems so much more palatable in a corporate sense. Is that a path we should go down? Is that something that we should embrace and use that as a kind of an entry point and something that people want to talk about? But the more that we spent time in workshops, the more we were running focus groups in organisations, the more we were talking to executive women and hearing about their stories and experiences, the more we found that actually this evidence was true for so many people. So we really went back to the heart of what we're wanting to share and really decided that, our message was around this resource of core confidence and how to connect with it. Kate, just doing a little recap from our session last week and sharing about executive presence.
Nice work. So I guess today we were going to talk a little bit around what does executive presence look like. So, this piece of, I think it's a little bit like the word confidence. It shows up as a topic. No one really has a good definition around it. And then there's this whole thing of, well, what does it actually look like? And for us, we talk about the 3 Ps of executive presence, particularly when we're integrating in with the conversation around confidence. The first being purpose, the second being preparation, and the third being presence. And it's no accident that the third piece is presence, that it's actually how you show up. Because I think, we get stuck in this conversation of presence. I need to show up with presence. I need to have an impact on my stakeholders. But we don't think about the first two, right? Why am I there? What's my purpose? What am I doing to prepare? Most of the time we're just rushing into this conversation with stakeholders or rushing into meetings. So there's no thinking put forward around, why am I there? What impact am I wanting to have? And all of this very much talks to, the personal brand conversation we're always having with clients. And then a conscious decision around how I show up. And I think there's just potency of slowing this whole thing down a little bit so that it's not this kind of, oh gosh, I'm going into a meeting in an hour with senior stakeholders, and then I probably spend the next hour kind of nervous and ruminating and getting, kind of all torn up and telling myself a lot of stories about what might be possible in that meeting, as opposed to kind of really breaking it down into like a 3-step process.
Yeah, I think it's so important to not get carried away with, as we often say, the stories we make up about what could and what if and what might happen, and really come back to, okay, so I have been asked, or I am invited, or I've called a meeting, and now what is it that I need to do to be as ready as possible to engage with people and to actually have the impact that I'd like to have with a little bit more presence and groundedness, that sort of, I feel in myself, I've got value, I can contribute something here.
Yeah. And so today we're going to kind of build on the first P, purpose. Next week, we'll talk around preparation and the final week of October, presence. But I think this is a critical one. And this is one that we often don't get really clear on, which is, why am I in a room? Why am I at a meeting? What voice am I having here? People, we've talked a little bit about get hooked on the need to be right versus the need to contribute. Like, what is my purpose in this conversation? Am I here to observe and just take notes? And if that's the case, a really important tip is to get that voice into the system, get that voice into the room. We've all been there, where we're sitting in a room of quite senior stakeholders, not clear about, should I be speaking up? What's expected of me? Should I be contributing? Everyone's thinking I'm here and I'm not saying anything. That looks silly. What are they thinking of me? And so being in that kind of, tumultuous self-talk story that goes on, when, you're really clear, your job is to, and plenty of times in my career, from a growth development point of view, my job was to sit in the room and observe and learn from what was going on. So I think Get really clear about why you're in a room and have the explicit conversation, particularly if you're there with a leader. Get clear about, hey, a quick conversation. Hey, we've got this meeting. What is it you need from me? Are there particular issues you want me addressing? That way you also, you're a team, you're going in, you know who's saying what.
Yeah, I think that piece about, particularly if it's part of your team or a division, or you're having a meeting with an external stakeholder, or there's other people involved, that the clearer you can get about why you're there and what you're going to do, and as you say, to actually make that explicit, to not just kind of sit there ruminating and kind of going over and over something, but to go, this is what I've been asked to do, and I'm really grateful for the experience. And just, you don't need to say much, but just acknowledging that means that you drop your level of concern, and everyone else knows why you're there, and it's clear, and everyone can get on with what needs to be done. And I think that the other piece, that thing about if you're going in with someone else, or you'll always know someone else in the meeting, or you'll have someone you can refer to and say, and what are the outcomes we're looking for? What is it we actually want to achieve from sitting down? I mean, unfortunately, corporate culture is full of a lot of meetings where outcomes are not clear. And that means that people, are often speaking in several different directions, or they've got many subjects or agendas running, and that can become confusing. So I think if you are at least clear about your outcome and what you're looking for, and you can again explicitly tell that to the other people in the room, it starts to bring some coherence and some logic to what's going on, which is pretty important.
Yeah, I think I kind of liken getting clear about what your purpose, why you're there, making sure others in the room know why you're there, and getting clear on that outcome. Those three quick questions are really strong, flags, if you will, in terms of navigating conversation. To your point, it's so easy for conversations to go off the rails and to get down rabbit holes, and lots of really useful, valuable conversations to have, but to really come back to, why am I there? What's expected of me from others, making sure that's known early. This is not something that you can kind of, half an hour into a conversation go, oh, by the way, I'm just here to take notes, or oh, by the way, I'm just here to learn, or halfway through the conversation you start speaking up and people are kind of like, oh, you said nothing for the first half an hour of this conversation. So I think it's really, and this stuff doesn't need to take long. It can be a couple of minutes, maybe not on the way walking to the meeting. It might be nice just to kind of at the beginning of the week look at what's in the diary and check in with some of your key stakeholders, particularly if you're attending meetings without them. But just kind of go, hey, you got this meeting. What is it you need from me? What do you expect from me? And what's the key outcome you want? This is what I'm thinking. That you kind of have those good conversations. Can be short and sharp, but super powerful, because really that then leads into the other two P's, right? The preparation, and most importantly, presence. Do I show up, sit quietly, take notes and learn? Do I show up and be an active voice? Because it's really important to me to be seen by the stakeholders that, I've got something to say on this matter. In fact, I do have something to say on this matter. So all of those things mean, if we link it now to confidence, that when I walk into the room, I know what's expected of me. So I've got certainty. I know what I'm going to do. So I'm ready, and I've done the preparation if I need to around the voice I need to have and what I'm going to say. And I'm 100% present in the room, rather than having all of those conversations with myself, which is, how am I showing up? What is my role here? What's my outcome? All of those things in the room, which take us away from the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. This is it is about getting organised and being clear, having those conversations early, and as you say, as you get into the room, making sure that you articulate that to the people who are present. So I think, core confidence is absolutely infusing how we show up for these things, and it's part of how we do it. And doing a little bit of planning really makes a difference.
Yeah. So that's purpose. Next week, we're going to be talking about preparation and, of course, presence. So look forward to seeing you online with our Facebook Live next Wednesday. Of course, if you've got questions, pop them in the chat box below. If you haven't got a copy of Core Confidence, www.coreconfidence.com.au, you can check it out there. Thanks, Fee.
Thanks, Kate.